Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about our culmination of this series of talking about Jokic post doubles. In the past, we've covered all the reads that Jokic makes, whether it be early, late, making reads to the cutter, the shooter, the outside, and how he absolutely dominates using this. Today, we're going to take the other perspective and we're going to look at on defense. Is there anything defenses can do that has really been proven to slow down Jokic? And the reason we're going to look at OKC in particular is because in last year's playoff series, OKC had held Jokic to some of his worst offensive numbers. If you average all through the playoffs, all through his playoff games, he's 123 as an offensive rating. In these two games that we're looking at, he was 72 and 89, far below what he averages. And I think there are some key takeaways from why that was the case, and we're going to discuss them. Let's go. The first thing that's crucial is there were still examples where Jokic got deep into the paint, doubles came, and he took advantage of them early. So we could see Chet was pointing back there momentarily. We're going to see the double from Lou Dort right here. And Jokic, because he's so deep in the paint already, this is going to lead to openings. Boom. We talked about the 45 cut. Gordon's going to cut to this 45. And also you see Michael Porter Jr. in the corner, who's going to be open. Aaron Gordon has a nice touch pass, and you get a wide open three, and that is not a shot that OKC is trying to give up. No way. Then in game three, again, we see something similar. And again, if Jokic gets deep into the paint where he's able to make reads, that's going to be crucial, where he can make the reads and he makes the right decision if you give him time a lot of the time. Okay, he's getting deep into the paint. Boom. Double's going to come here. And this spurs Denver's action. Gordon's going to cut into that space. Jokic's going to find him. And again, that's a look that Denver is looking for. All right, so then the first real takeaway that we can take away from OKC on defense is going to be they were unbelievably physical early. Chet guarded him, I think, to begin the series, but then that switched pretty early. And you go to this Jalen Williams. And the reason they went to Jalen Williams is because he's slightly smaller than Jokic, but extremely physical and was willing just to push Jokic around or attempt to push Jokic around. And the reason that referees aren't calling this in particular is because Jalen Williams is slightly smaller and Jokic is bigger. So oftentimes they kind of let you have that gray area where you can push around. So even though this didn't lead to like a clear offensive possession where it's a post up or whatever, him forcing Jokic to catch the ball far away makes it much harder for Jokic to get down to the post where he wants to be, where he can be his most efficient, instead forcing a difficult shot on the perimeter. But every single time that Jokic was trying to get post-ups early, so I talked about in one of the previous videos how Jokic tries to carve out space, Jalen Williams is doing everything possible in his power to not allow that. Like, he is just absolutely like pushing on Jokic with everything that he has. And like, there's a foul call, I believe, here later, but he is just absolutely trying to shove him out of the way. And that's because OKC understands the trade-off of Jokic getting an easy bucket at the rim versus a potential foul call versus wearing Jokic down is crucial, because it also leads to this where Jokic feels the need to be physical back and forth. And so they get offensive fouls as well. And that's a huge devastating blow for Jokic, because obviously he can't foul out if you're Denver. Because if he fouls out, that's game over for Denver, All right, so then we get to our second category, and that's going to be OKC with what I'm going to call the early double. This is going to be essentially the moment the Jokic touches the ball, you're going to see a double come at him right away to essentially make it so that he doesn't even have the option to make a read or make a good pass. Okay, so here they're going to kind of get a switch. Okay, so because of that, because of this screen right here, Lou Dort stays in front of Jokic, and we're going to see Hartenstein just immediately sprint to Jokic. They're not going to mess around with that at all. Okay, so they're going to go with this early double. And yeah, there is a small window here, but essentially OKC is just saying, like, we're going to make you make the read before you're completely comfortable with Jokic, so that way you have less opportunity to punish us. And even though Jamal Murray, like, you could argue he had kind of a look right here, because OKC does have really good help rotation, they're okay with having Chet right here in the first place to contest at that rim. And then the second category, this is going to be a 2B, I'm going to say, is OKC was intentional about what shots they were allowing. Like, you can see SGA right here, he's splitting these two players, and he's like, okay, I would much rather have you give up a three out here than have something at the rim, whether Christian Brown cuts or whether Jamal Murray gets it at the rim. They're kind of baiting him into shooting this contested three. They're okay with that because it's the lesser of all evils from their perspective. And I do think that's an important perspective on defense, is you're not going to prevent the offense from scoring, especially when you have really good players like Jokic. And so your philosophy has to be, how can we limit or how can we encourage them to shoot slightly worse shots? So here, Jokic goes, and again, we see the immediate double, and it's going to be crucial that they immediately double off of Russell Westbrook. That's going to be a common theme here coming up. And so Lou Dort goes, says, Jokic, we're not going to give you time to get down here to the post to really make your read. We're going to make you make it early. And yeah, Russell Westbrook was open there temporarily, but because it forced Jokic to go slightly earlier before he was set and ready, Hartenstein is able to get a hand on it and deflect this ball. And we saw the same thing in game 3. Again, Jokic maybe trying to sell a call right here, but SGA this is not the matchup that you want if you're OKC. So what are they going to be? We're going to say we're going to double immediately to make sure Jokic can't either take advantage of SGA or make the right read. But this double comes immediately, and again, OKC is doubling off of the worst shooter on the floor, the person least likely to shoot, whether it be Aaron Gordon or Christian Brown or Russell Westbrook, whoever that is, they're going immediately to force Jokic to go slightly before he's ready. And again, like we said, like he is human. He does miss these shots sometimes, even though like he makes that 75% of the time, maybe he does miss it occasionally. And that's why OKC wanted to get the ball out of his hands quickly. And again, game 3, we're going to see kind of a chaotic situation right here, but Jokic is going to get the ball down and have Alex Caruso on him. And so this, again, we're seeing physicality early. Caruso is like, I mean, he's grabbing him, and Jokic just trying to carve up space. But OKC is like, no chance. We're going to double you immediately. SGA comes, and who's he leaving? Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook, a worst shooter on the floor, so that's who he leaves. And frankly, Russell's open. Jokic finds him, but, I mean, Lou Dort, that's a crazy block. To be able to time it this well and get it without getting a piece of the arm is absolutely insane. Russell's got to make that, but, like, that's a crazy play from Lou Dort. And then finally, we're going to look at this is our transition between, I'd say, category 2 and category 3. This is going to be the allowing shots. And this is like an example of OKC didn't even want Jokic to get posted up in the first place. And so Caruso, we're watching in particular, he's not really going to stay out here on the perimeter. He's going to sink back to be with Jokic to make sure that pass isn't in there. So, like, look, he's like getting in here, says Christian Brown, don't even think about going in here. And then when Russell gets it, like, he's not closing out hard. He's closing out shallow to try and encourage Russell to shoot this ball, especially in transition. That is not a shot Denver should be shooting. And then the biggest takeaway, I think, from these games, this is going to be my ultimate category. This is like essentially what I would do if I was guarding Jokic on the other side, is you're going to leave the big in front of him or whoever you have, Jalen Williams, Hartenstein, whoever it is, and from the nearest player, they're going to jab. Isaiah Joe is going to be constantly jabbing and coming back here. He's never going to full out go to double, but instead he's going to be throwing hands in the passing lane, making Jokic just think about it, and so that way it's difficult to read. And then if the aggressive help eventually does come, you're always coming off of Russell Westbrook. You're coming off of whoever the worst shooter is every single time. Not even a thought in your mind. You're not doubling off of Jamal Murray. You're not doubling off of Michael Porter Jr. You're doubling off of Russell Westbrook, and you're allowing those shots. Like, you're living with those shots. He makes them sometimes. You live with it. And this concept was what I believe is the single most impactful one for OKC limiting Jokic. And I believe they did a fairly good job of it, frankly. It helps that they have just really good defenders in general, but we're going to see the same concept here. Okay, Jokic is going to get the ball in the post. First off, Hartenstein's physical early, making him catch it outside the paint. And then the immediate jab from the near side defender, even if it means you leave Russell Westbrook open for a little bit, the quick jab right there, even though Russell, I believe, makes this. Like, this is a really good finish by Russell. But this is, again, a shot that you're willing to live with if you're OKC. You want to trade that versus Jokic making a clean shot or a clean read. And I personally believe that Denver and OKC were the two best teams in the playoffs last year. So I think that this defense essentially might be what eventually led to them winning the NBA championship and their ability to stop Jokic. Again, we see the jab here. Like, we're not all out engaging, but even if it's a good shooter right here, you're jabbing because you know you can't give Jokic time to think or he's going to tear you apart. Like, you have to be constantly providing other things in his mind where he doesn't know exactly what's coming. You see quick jabs, and the one gambling further over here is Caruso, and Jokic probably, frankly, should have passed this to Jamal Murray, but instead he passes it to Russell Westbrook. And again, is OKC going to close out there? No. Like, slow close out. And the thing is, like, if it doesn't get you an open read the first time, now you have 11 seconds, and Jokic, you already gave up Jokic's best opportunity to have the efficient shot, which is him down here in the post. And so now Denver has to force something with a low shot clock. And yeah, Jokic will still make these. Like, he's Jokic. But OKC, again, that's what you want, absolutely. And again, game 3, we see this exact same thing. First off, Hartenstein being very physical with Jokic early. Hey, we're going to get the ball moved around. Jokic is posted up. Hey, what are we going to see? We're going to ideally see jabs from OKC. Hey, Helmgren helping off. Okay, just quick jabs. Make it so you encourage this pass out. And Aaron Gordon does not, like, he does this way too often where he sits inside the 3 point line. And if you're OKC, you're definitely okay with that. But again, same thing. If you're not willing to shoot that first ball, OKC is willing to let you run 14 seconds off the shot clock. So you have to force a shot now. And like this, the shot that Aaron Gordon ends up shooting, OKC is 100% okay with that. 100%. Again, we're going to see Jokić go down in the middle, and he's going to eventually lead to a post up as they move the ball back around. Hey, again, he has the advantage here, and this is a smaller defender. And so a lot of times we see either teams like go early or whatever, but instead they're encouraging him to be physical with them and then constantly jab. And even if it allows Michael Porter Jr. a little bit of space right here, you're okay with that because it's better than Jokić working deep in the paint one-on-one with a smaller defender. You're okay with a contested three, even if it is from a good shooter. You're picking your battles. You're choosing what your trade-off is. Because if Jokić gets down in the paint like he did after that rebound right there, he's going to find someone open, and that's what leads to dunks. And those are the shots that you do not want if you're on defense against Jokić. So my big takeaways from these two games are that one, Jokić is extremely good still. You give him post presence, no matter who he's going against, he's going to get opportunities. So the counters that you have to do if you're on defense is first, you got to be physical early. Move him out of the way. Make it so he doesn't get deep in the paint because that's where he does his best work. Two, if you have the opportunity, early double. And when you early double, you're coming off of the bad shooters. You're leaving Russell Westbrook. You're leaving the players that aren't going to shoot on the perimeter because that way they're less likely to punish you. And three, you cannot let Jokić get comfortable. You have to make sure he's constantly worried about the stunt, when it's coming, who's coming, and so that way he can't get settled and make those beautiful reads that we've seen in these other playlists. That being said, if you've watched games with Denver and you think that like, oh, this other defense worked really well, I would love to hear it because I will check out other ideas in the comments absolutely. But as of right now, if I was coaching against Jokić, this is what I would do. This would be my game plan. If you enjoyed, feel free to like and subscribe. Most importantly, have a blessed rest of your day.